no, still there. Right, hold on. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our live stream tonight. And it's nice to be here on a Thursday, just 2 Thursdays, because I spoke recently, I think it was on the Wednesday night live stream, I mentioned Elijah on Carmel and his prayers. And it struck me at the time what a useful help these 7 prayers were in understanding intercession and prayer itself. And so I thought I would just do a Thursday, 2 Thursdays, an extra, as it were, to look at those 7 prayers, 3 tonight and 4 next Thursday, to see if we can get a better understanding. Now we've got longer. I only had 15 minutes to squeeze it in on the Wednesday night, so I can take a bit more time tonight and look at it. So let's begin by getting hold of this. The 7 prayers of Elijah. That's what we're going to do tonight. The 7 prayers of Elijah. And let's begin with the text itself. Let's just read that, then we'll talk about it. Elijah climbed to the top of Carmel, bent down to the ground, and put his face between his knees. "Go and look towards the sea," he told his servant. And he went up and looked. "There is nothing there," he said. 7 times Elijah said, "Go back." The 7th time the servant reported, "A cloud as small as a man's hand is rising in the sea." This is a situation. Elijah has called for a drought on Israel because of the way they were treating the Lord. And it came, and it lasted a long time. In the end, Ahab, who didn't like Elijah, and all his prophets, his false prophets, and Elijah went to Mount Carmel. He had a competition. We needn't worry about that tonight. Elijah won. And after he's won his competition, as it were, and proved who God was, then we come to this story. After the great battle at Carmel, after the great victory at Carmel, on presumably lower than the mountain, he climbed to the top, bent to the ground, and put his face between his knees. "Go and look towards the sea," he told his servant. So Elijah now, having been the one that brought the drought about at the command of the Lord, is now going to ask the Lord to bring the drought to an end. And I don't know quite what he was thinking, quite how he thought he would bring that about. I don't know. But he begins his prayer the first time. The servant goes and looks towards the sea and comes back and says, "There's nothing there." So the first prayer, the first level of prayer, is Our Father. Our Father, you know this. "Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done." Elijah prays the Our Father prayer. That's the everyday prayer of all of us. Prayer for protection, prayer for covering, prayer for healing, prayer for strength. You know this. We've been taught this from our mummy's knee, that we pray for God's provision, give us this day our daily bread, and all that stuff. It's good prayer. The Greek calls it proseuche. It's the basic prayer of the believer. Elijah begins his struggle with the Our Father prayer. And that's the natural place to start, of course. He's going to his Father. He wants an answer to prayers. So he prays, "Our Father who art in heaven." This is the basic starting point for all prayer, that we have been told by the Lord to pray like this, and we begin to pray like this. And in the Our Father prayer, we can put our prayers. So as we pray to our Father who art in heaven, then we can begin to introduce our own prayers into that framework. It's not the words so much of the Our Father, it's being able to go to the Father and say, "This is what we need." And that's the everyday prayer of the Christian. And Elijah prays it. He's quite a wise prophet. He starts in the natural place, the easy place, the beginning place. And when he's prayed at that level, and I'm not criticizing that level at all, but it is the sort of lowest level of prayer. I don't mean that negatively. It's kind of the beginning level of prayer. That's good. The beginning level of prayer. He prays. We don't know how long for. Maybe 5 minutes, maybe 5 hours. We've got no way of knowing. It doesn't really matter. Then he says, after he's reached a point where he thinks his prayers are sufficient, he says to his servant, "Go and have a look and see if the rain is coming." And his servant goes to the edge of the mountain, looks out over the sea, and being a good servant, he probably looked quite carefully, and he came back to Elijah and he said, "Well, I'm sorry, Elijah, Master, there's no rain." So what's Elijah going to do? What do we do when it doesn't work out, when we don't seem to get the answers, or whatever? This is intercessors we're talking about here. What do we do? Sometimes what we do is pray it all again the same way. Nothing wrong with that, but it hasn't worked the first time, so why would it work the second time? Perplexing, isn't it, and puzzling. Why when God has taught us to pray our Father, and Elijah prays our Father, how come he doesn't get his answers? It's just not fair, is it, that? It doesn't make any sense. That's because prayer is a series of levels. And sometimes the level we're at, good though it may be, isn't enough. And we have to then move to a different level. That's true in life. Something doesn't work, you probably got to do it differently. You've got to think again. You've got to weigh it up again. And Elijah is an extremely experienced prophet. He is extremely able, and he knows God very well. So here we are. Then Elijah has a problem. He wants to bring the drought to an end. And he goes up to Carmel. He bends down to the ground. That's the way he chose to pray. It's entirely up to him. And he prays for a short or long time. We've no idea. Length in prayer is fairly irrelevant. It's commitment and depth that matter. And so he finishes that prayer and he says, go and look towards the sea. His servant went and looked, came back and said, there's nothing there. So that's the beginning of where we are. Elijah is trying to ask the Lord to end the drought, which Elijah, by the Lord's direction, had started. So he finds a place to pray, and he prays Our Father. He prays Pros UK prayer. He prays at the straightforward, simple level of prayer. What's wrong with that? Good place to start. Very good place to start. And we can believe that he prayed earnestly. So he entered into the Our Father atmosphere. It's not to do with the words, but the Father has said, come to me, I am in heaven, come, I will give you your daily bread, I will not lead you into the time of testing, you know it well enough. Elijah's coming into that atmosphere of a Father who has told us to come because he answers prayer. That seems to be, I think, very sensible indeed. Where else to start? And when he's prayed long enough, he asks his servant, has the rain come? His servant goes and says, no, it hasn't. So now Elijah, because he's an experienced man, thinks to himself, I'll have to go now to a different level of prayer. I must go one step deeper. And the one step deeper is here. Call to me, and I will answer you. Call to me, and I will answer you. Now that comes from Jeremiah 33:3. As you'll have heard me say many times, that's God's telephone number, Jeremiah 33:3. Call to me, and I will answer you. But this is a different kind of prayer. We've moved on from moving into the comfortable arms of Father and laying before him our burdens to something a little different. It's a bit more claiming and proclaiming here. There's a bit more edge. That's not quite the right word because there's no edge in the Father, but a bit more sharpness. The words are difficult. It is difficult to explain, but now it's got a bit more serious. I'm calling to you. Okay? I brought this drought on at your command. I didn't want a drought. I didn't want to go to Carmel. I didn't want to fight. I didn't do anything. I didn't want to do those things. But you were the one that told me to prophesy a drought. And I did. And it got me into quite a lot of trouble. But Lord, we saw wonderful things. Now I want to bring it to an end. And I don't understand why you're not doing it. Listen, this is the deal. I call to you and you answer me. I'm not being arrogant, Lord. Please don't think that. But what's this game we're playing? It's not a game to me. My whole life, says Elijah, is based on one principle. When I call, you answer. And if you don't, as a prophet, I'm absolutely lost. What am I going to do? So, are you what's going on? And there's a bit more claiming, but I don't like the word claiming because it sounds so easy. This level is more difficult. It's full of uncertainty. Our Father is lovely, and it's great. But this one is a bit more. You didn't answer me. I called. There's a deal here. I gave my life to you, and you promised to hear me when I call. So I'm calling, right? This is it. God, the Lord, King, Master. Listen, you've got to answer me. We can't go on like this. We can't go on with drought forever. And I prophesied it. Now I want to unprophesy it, if you like. I want you to bring it to an end, because the people are thirsty, and the harvest is failing, and people are hungry, and possibly, we don't know, but possibly people are dying. It's got to end. So I can't go on like this. So you see the difference now. It's sometimes the Lord says to me when I'm praying, how much does it matter to you that I answer you? And I say, it's my very life. And if you don't answer me, I might as well be dead. That's what Moses said. Take my life. What's the point? Let the others live, but take my life. This level is, you can see it's quite hard to explain. It is quite hard, but there's a bit more struggle going on here. Our Father is bliss in prayer. We go into the Father's presence and we ask him. Beautiful. I'm not saying it's easy, but it is lovely. But at this level, things have got a little bit more struggle. Lord, this is Elijah. Lord, okay. I listened. I did what you said. Okay, now I'm calling to you. We need this drought gone, and I need you to answer me. And to be honest, if you don't answer me, what's the point? Do you want people to die of thirst and hunger? No, you don't. You don't. Please rouse yourself up and answer me. Now, I hope you begin to see I'm trying to sort of sketch it out for you a bit, because I've got a bit more time on this broadcast, half an hour. If you're new to us, because units are so expensive in Ghana, we keep to half an hour for our Ghanaian viewers, of which there are a number tonight. So, number one, our Father. He goes into the Father's presence. Well, let's go back here. He starts off, he goes into the Father's presence, and he says, Father, you love me, and I know you care about me, and you care. I know our Father comes in the New Testament, but the emotion of our Father is everywhere. Come into my presence, Son, and tell me what's troubling you, and we'll see what we can do. And he does that. He does that faithfully, and he says to his servant, whatever, pop down to the over the edge of the mountain, have a look, and tell me where the rain cloud is. He came back, there isn't one. Elijah goes, oh dear. And he says, right, God, enough of this niceness. I'm not having this. You've got to answer me. Otherwise, we're all lost. Me, you, the people, everything. I can't have it. We're not going to have it. You must answer me. How long that lasts, I don't know, but that kind of prayer lasts a bit longer, I find, because it's a struggle. You're struggling in this environment. We're struggling. It's an emotional struggle. Why didn't you answer me? What's going on? When Moses lifted his rod, the sea parted, and he might have added, when Jesus said to Lazarus, come forth, he came out. But here you don't seem to be doing that. And I don't understand that, because you're a creator God. You bring worlds into being. And yet, I ask you a simple thing. Frankly, it's a very simple thing I'm asking. I'm not asking for much. Let it rain. And then we can all get back to where we need to be. Yeah, I think that would have gone on quite a while. This level of prayer is draining emotionally. You don't quite know how far dare you go. This is the sovereign Lord you're speaking to. And yet, if you don't express the need really powerfully, the sovereign God will say, oh, it doesn't matter much to you, does it, Elijah? So why should it matter to me? So it's a difficult level, this one. I always find it difficult. But you have to pass into it if, as a deep prayer or intercessor, you're not seeing the answer at Our Father, you've got to drop down a bit. And this one will exhaust you and challenge you and frighten you. Well, not quite frightened, but this is the Lord of heaven and earth. And yet I'm saying to him, you're not sticking to your side of the bargain. That's why I say to intercessors here in Ghana, all they do here is shout their mouths off and present God with long lists. Rubbish. That's not intercession. I don't even think it's Our Father prayer, but that's what I'm told intercession is. That's because they haven't grasped that intercession, like being a parent, is a way of life. So Elijah struggled a bit. He says to his servant, okay, I think they'll probably do it. Go and have a look. So the servant goes down to the edge. The servant's going to come and go 7 times. The servant doesn't care. He does what he's told. He doesn't say, how many more times? No. He does what he's told. Goes down, and I'm sure he would have taken a careful look. You don't get to be Elijah's servant by being casual, do you? And he came back and he said, something like this, Master, I've scoured the sky. I've absolutely, honest. I promise you, Master, I didn't take it lightly, but there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. Now Elijah knows he's going to have to drop down to another level. And if he isn't scared, he should be. Because the deeper you get in prayer, the greater the challenges are. And we're going to look next week that the ultimate level at level 6 is Gethsemane. It's hard. But he's a prophet, and that's his job. And so, level 3. So Peter was kept in prison, but the church was earnestly praying to God for him. Now this is getting very tough now. The story is this, and I'm sure you know it, but if you don't, the Jews imprisoned James, the leader of the early church, and killed him. Nobody complained, so they thought, we'll do the same to Peter then, and arrested him and put him in prison. And the next day, they'd have called him out and killed him. So he's in his last hours, and there he is in prison, unable to do anything. And the church was earnestly praying for him. Now this one is it's hard. They were praying up against it. They knew that they were now Peter's only hope. There was no other. There was no great army going to come over the mountains and rescue Peter. There was no great lawyer who was going to come and get him out. There was nothing. They were his last hope, and that's the challenge at this level, that you find yourself often the last hope, praying earnestly for something, and sometimes you feel you're on your own, and the truth is you probably are. That's what makes this level so tough. You are up against it. There's no longer any room for Our Father or even for calling out. Now it is, if you don't answer me, we're done for. It's as simple as that. If you don't answer me, we're done for. This is a tough level. It's frightening, it's challenging, and it's lonely. And you often feel you're standing between the Lord and some catastrophe. And you look around for others. Oh, who else is praying? Nobody else is praying. Only you. You're the only one. Elijah's on his own. We don't know if his servant was praying, we've no idea, but Elijah's on his own. No one's come with him. All these people that wouldn't listen to him until he showed them his power, and now they cry out, the Lord, he is God, the Lord, he is God. Where are they? They're not there. No one's there. He's on his own. And the weight of the burden is heavy on his shoulders. And he knows, if he can't get God to answer, then it's lost. This is a difficult position to be in as an intercessor. You see, we're moving a long way from our Father, aren't we? This is a very difficult position. When I was in Manila with my companion, there was a coup d'etat. There are a lot of those in Manila. We were in it. And a group of us, I found some other missionaries in the hotel, and I booked a room because I was the only one with any money, and we booked a room to pray. And when we finished our prayers, we looked out the window, and coming down the boulevard were the rebel tanks. They were coming to our hotel. I never forget, the Swedish missionary started to cry. Swedish people don't express their emotions much, but the woman began to cry. And the French missionaries were looking very disturbed. None of us were dancing. I remember my prayer. I prayed this: Lord, you are now our only hope. If you do not answer us now, then we are lost. So I know what this level's like. And incredibly, the tanks stopped on the boulevard for a while and then turned back. And I believe, I hope you won't think it's arrogant, but I believe that at that moment I stood between those tanks and those 15 missionaries in that room. And if I couldn't find the inner strength to earnestly beseech the Lord on their behalf, we were all lost. That is level 3. Earnestly praying. If God doesn't answer me at this level, I'm lost. Now you see, well, just to complete the story, because we'll do the others next week, Elijah said to his servant, go and look over the sea, and the servant went down and he came back and he said, there's still nothing. God, this is terrible. What's God want of his intercessors? For goodness sake, what does he want of us? If even this isn't enough, what does he want? It's challenged me all my life. What do you want? What do you want of me as a praying person, as an intercessor? What do you want that you will act? And next week we'll find out what he wants. So, just to remind you of this, the 3 steps, the first 3 steps of Elijah. Number 1, Our Father prayer. Proseuche is the Greek. That going into that lovely presence of the Lord, and in that warmth of the Father heart, bringing our needs. That's level 1. If that isn't enough, then you have to go to level 2. And at level 2, life gets a little harder for the praying person, because it's not quite confrontation, but it's near to it. Why are you not answering me when that's the deal? And when that one doesn't work, then the third one, we are now coming into extremely difficult territory for the intercessor. You have to be willing to stand between God and whatever it is you're praying for. You have to be willing to do it alone. Now the church, Peter was lucky. The church was praying. No, there'd be more than one. We don't know how many, but there was a group praying. So they were supporting each other, but mostly serious prayer is done on your own. I've noticed that over the years. You have to be on your own, because then you can really focus on what you're doing and what you're asking for. Whereas when you're with others, they can easily soften it or pull you away. I find serious intercession is usually done alone. And level 3 is the clearest parable of aloneness. If you don't respond to what I am asking you, we're lost. And knowing that's true, that's the thing. You see, we're lost. Well, we're not really lost, actually. we're okay, we're going to be fine. You know, I hear this all the time. Oh, but we're going to be fine. With tanks coming down the boulevard, full of rebels looking for Westerners to capture and kill, everything was not fine. And even after the prayer, it was still a huge risk for Elijah. And this level of prayer is hugely full of risk. And it didn't do it. Didn't work. Didn't rain. And Elijah's a very experienced spiritual worker. He knows the other levels and he knows where he's going to have to go now. And he's not exactly jumping up and down, but he knows, I haven't got deep enough. I'm going to have to go deeper. And the next weeks, there's really 3, because the last one speaks for itself. The next week's 3 are truly awful. That's all I can say. That the lower levels of intercessory prayer are very, very challenging. But, well, it depends whether or not we want to be effective. Elijah wanted the rain to fall, and so he was prepared to wait. Next week, yep, same time, it's raining. He got there in the end, but the price is going to be high. Now, you see, you may be saying, oh, I was going to say one more thing. You may be saying, we don't switched on now. Well, don't then. Because I can't make these levels of prayer any easier than they are. I can only tell you what they're like. And unfortunately, in the 21st century church, there's not a lot of this telling going on. I read books that make out intercession is easy. I've never found it easy. Elijah's not finding it easy. I've never found it easy. I sometimes wished I hadn't bothered, because it's so demanding of the human spirit. And my final comment is this tonight. Remember, the human spirit was never designed to bear these spiritual burdens. The spirit has to bear them. And so that's why it's so heavy in us, as our human spirit feeling the strain and our spiritual being trying to pray the prayers. It's such a struggle. So you must make your decision now, whether you think it's worth this journey or whether you would prefer to stay at our Father level. That's fine. Stay there. Or you might join me next week and see the deeper levels. It's a question of what you want, isn't it? Elijah carried on because he wanted it to rain. Thank you, David, in Seaford, for watching over us and making all this work. We do appreciate it. You're never seen, although you were seen this week a bit, weren't you, on Wednesday morning? So thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. I don't get a chance to look normally at who's on, but I see quite a few Africans are on tonight, as well as our English friends. That's great, isn't it? Really good. I can see Elizabeth, Anita, Paul, Florence, and some have already gone up. Who else is here? The rest, I think. Oh, Margaret Ajay. God bless you, Margaret. Still with us after all the struggles you've had. And Abigail. So a good mixture of English and African tonight. God bless.